All right. Well, let's see if this works. As if you're reading the chat, you may have found out that we're having some internet issues, possibly. I don't know if it's a setting or if it's me. Let me know if you can hear me, though. I also have a child in the background who is melting down because it is nap time, and she doesn't have daycare today for the holidays. So that's good. Let's see here. You can switch over to me. Hey! My hair's crazy with this Santa hat. Let me know. I'm trying to view the chat. I'm going to give a couple minutes here to make sure if there's any buffering or anything like that, or if there's any settings I need to change. But give me a shout out in the chat if you can see and hear me. My music also stopped. There we go. Turns out you got to turn on repeat all for it to keep going. I see some people saying hi. I don't see. Yeah, let's see if I can just tweak the settings here. Yeah, it's chugging. All right, now we're showing as excellent connection. Is that actually true, though? That's the question. Excellent connection. Can people hear me? Oh, I can't see me because I don't have my camera up. Can people hear me and can people see me? How's that? Is that any better? Is that any better? Any worse? Somebody said melting children doesn't sound good. Oh, I said melting down. They're not melting. They're just melting down because it's nap time. Hearing okay. Star-Lord Scavenger says. Emanuele says, we can hear you. Jack says, buffering stopped. And now I'm getting an error in YouTube again. So I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to try to go. Hopefully YouTube is actually getting the data. I will also do a local recording for worst case scenario because my CPU seems fine. Yeah, so we're gonna do a local recording. Worst case scenario, if this is buffering too much for you, check back later today and it will be uploaded in hopefully a better quality. So sorry about that. Yeah, new internet service provider, much faster, but apparently either some settings changed or something's weird. So you can also try going back on the timeline if it's buffering a lot for you, and hopefully that'll let it kind of catch up. So my video is choppier than a slideshow, somebody says. Choppier than a slideshow. The preview here is looking great, so that must be the buffering on YouTube. It's not fun. All right. When I did a test earlier today, everything seemed fine, just like when I started doing this. But, yeah. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes to see if I can change any settings here. Latency set to normal. Oh, Danny says I'm coming through perfectly now. I like slightly tweaked my gain. Usually when I have the gain up that high, it clips. So something is different. Let's see here. All right, let's get rid of Let's get rid of this. Let's see if that's any better. Here's my desktop. Plug the merch store here, of course. Wow, that video is lagging like crazy. That is weird. Something changed and I'm not happy about it. Let's try that. Is that a little better? All right, we're trying again here. Should be back. Try to lower resolution as a stopgap. That shouldn't be an issue, but apparently it is. Let's see. What do we got here? Why is this doing this? All right, let's see what YouTube says about that. It's saying the resolution is not optimal because I'm outputting at 720, which is trying to get around all these issues. This is weird. If you've stuck with me for 13 minutes of this, you're the best. Again, sincerely apologize. Everything was working. Kelly's saying it's improving. We are should be working here. Looks like the latency with my stream is a little bit lower, or with my capture card is a little bit lower, which is good. I like that. Can actually like scroll and see it scroll. Yeah, that's good. My avatar video feed is working well, somebody says. Okay, that's cool. I'm definitely like not centered in the frame. I've been like hunching over at the stream computer over here. I've got two computers, so I got it all centered earlier. Okay, let's see. Video resolution, but how is everything else working? Is everything okay? If so, we're gonna get started. If you haven't been able to tell, today's gonna be a very informal stream. It's a Christmas Eve or Festivus stream for those who celebrate, and I'm feeling a little festive today myself. And today's basically my last day of working before Christmas break. And I'll be off for about a week, which is great. So see some family, spend some time with friends, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'm getting messages that everything looks good now. Okay, I'm gonna go with it. Like I said, I'm also there's also a recording that if worst case, if everything's totally garbage, we can upload that later. But we should be good. So hi, welcome to the stream. Only 15 minutes late. Yeah. So today we're just gonna chat about a little bit of question and answer stuff. Talk about Elementary OS 6.1 Yolnir, and you can all tell me how wrong I'm pronouncing that. It's actually something we wanted to do. We didn't quite have the time to, but we wanted to put together a little compilation of people trying to pronounce Yolnir. For a little bit of background, it was actually with our code names, we do mythological beings, gods, etc. And we were talking about 6.1 and kind of what 6.1 represented and what it actually was. It's only been 4 months since the OS 6.0 release, Odin. And last time we had 5.0, and then 5.1 was about a year later. So that had a whole year's worth of development, and so it was kind of obvious. It was like it was a big release. It was deserving of its own name. For 6.1, it wasn't as clear right away if that would be the case, but we started actually kind of looking into like everything we'd been like cranking out for the past 4 months, and all of the feedback that we've gotten, and then that we had addressed with updates, and we realized this is actually a pretty big release too. So we went ahead and decided to give it a new code name. And doing some research, I found different names for Odin. So in the past, it was for 5.0, it was Juno, and then 5.1 was Hera, which is the Greek equivalent of the Roman goddess Juno. So we want to do something kind of similar, a related name, or something that was somewhat similar. So I was looking at other names for Odin, and it was there was Yulnir, which is basically the name for Odin. I don't fully know all the mythology, but from my research, it's basically the name for Odin, specifically as he relates to like Yuletide, and like it's that Father Christmas, Santa Claus-ish sort of a figure. It's like a predecessor to that, which we thought was super appropriate. Having a release in December, late December, and also being related to Odin, we thought it was really appropriate. So that's where that name comes from, which is kind of fun. But yeah, I think I can just kind of dig into this release a little bit and what it represented. If you've been following along or read the blog post, a little bit of this is a recap, but I like doing it in video form for people who don't necessarily follow along all the time. So I'm going to jump over to, let's see, using a Bluetooth mouse between two computers, and it's actually working really well. I'm really impressed with it. But it means I'm switching back and forth between the stream computer and the one you're actually viewing the feed from here. So jumping over to the chat here. This is usable. 720. Happy Festivus. Nice Santa hat. The Santa hat is causing interference. Yeah, it's actually foil lined, so that you can't read my brainwaves or whatever. I don't know. Kelly says that was a pretty good pronunciation. Yes. That's great. That's great. So interesting question real quick was Jason Antonio Flores Deris says, will you keep naming elementary OS versions with deities from Nordic mythology, or will you use names from other mythologies? So yeah, we've used Greek, Roman, and Nordic, and then we wanted to use a certain Egyptian goddess name before there was like an issue with that name. It was the goddess Isis was going to be released, and so we renamed that one to Freya. I would love to get an Egyptian name in there. I think there's some cool ones. The problem is a lot of them are really hard for some people to pronounce, so it's a little hard. The one I like a lot is Osiris, but it's a little weird to be elementary OS Osiris. But yeah, we'll see. We're open to using different mythologies and different pantheons, I guess, to use. Hey, you ever wonder where that name comes from? Yeah, we're open to using lots of different names. We've used, if I can do a pop quiz from the top of my head, Jupiter, Luna, Freya, Loki, Juno, and then 5.1 was Hera, and then 6 is Odin, and then 6.1 is Yulnir. So yeah, we've used lots of different ones. There's a mix of different pantheons there. Let's see. Horus sounds good. It could be interesting. Yeah, Isis is like a cool, and like the goddess was cool, and that was like our plan. The problem is there's this terrorist organization. I don't want to get into all that, but it's a tainted name. If we name it that, it can cause problems with like payment processing and like all kinds of crazy stuff. It's like nuts how this name that's existed for forever, as a goddess or whatever, now has become like a big red flag. So and obviously like there's that perception of it, so we don't want to use that. Yeah. Somebody's saying nice name so far. Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things I've enjoyed doing is trying to come up with those names. And like, Yulnir was kind of a joke at first. I was like, ha ha ha, try to pronounce that, cowards. And then I was like, actually, it's not too bad. I feel like the J is a Y sound, yeah, soft J, I guess. And it's got an accent in there, but it's not too complicated. Like, yeah. So we actually, it started as a joke, and then we ended up actually doing it because it sounds really cool, and now I've fallen in love with it. There's also cool like the whole, you know, we switched to the dark variant of the wallpaper. You know, so we have the this wallpaper created by Freehive. This is the one that debuted with Elementary OS 6 Odin. But as part of that project, we worked on creating a dark variant, you know, kind of thinking about the dark style. Obviously, I'm using the dark style here. I've grown in kind of in love with it. But we wanted a wallpaper that reflected the dark style as well. And as long as we were commissioning basically this wallpaper already, we decided we should do a dark variant. And then when Mjolnir came around, it felt just really appropriate to have kind of the Northern Lights feel going on. And I don't know, it feels Christmassy somehow. So it felt appropriate. So it was it all came together nicely. Yeah, a little behind the scenes of that. Let's see. That wallpaper looks awesome. Thank you. So let's see. All right. So yeah, let's jump into what Elementary OS 6.1 Mjolnir actually is, and kind of our goals with developing it, and what we you know, what we focused in on, and kind of what points we try to keep hitting when we were developing new features, and then obviously the way we talk about those features, we try to like reflect those points again. So we always do like a handful of key points for a release. So for 6.0, it was I thought we had them listed up here somewhere. Yeah, so for 6.0, it was ways to be in control and express yourself. So things like the accent color and dark style were big in 6.0. And these features, you know, trickled out throughout the whole OS. And then there were just new features in general, you know, being a big full version number release. It was just lots of new features. And then we also focused on gettability and inclusivity. So that was the new installer and initial setup type process, and also some more like accessibility type options. So that was 6.0. It was a huge release. And then when we focused in on 6.1 for the last 4 months, we focused on especially addressing feedback. So that was the big one. Oh, and the dark style, that does not highlight nicely. Oops. So addressing feedback is definitely a huge thing we've been doing over the past four months. I mean, even as 6.0 was like coming out, we were getting feedback from like early access and testers, and we were like continuously iterating on the OS to address that feedback. So as an example of that, the biggest example that people I think were aware of early on is App Center. So we have when OS 6 first launched, App Center only showed, I think it was like 3 or 4 apps down here. The banner didn't have these big giant bannered featuring the new and recently updated apps because of how the backend had been switched over. So people said, you know, oh, it looks a little empty. And of course, with a new release and a new Flatpak based App Center, there were fewer apps at launch time than if you had come from OS 5.1, there were fewer apps in App Center at launch. The nice thing is now that all those apps have been transitioned over to Flatpak, that transition will basically never have to happen again. So Flatpak apps, even if they were released for OS 6, will run exactly the same on OS 6.1 and on eventually OS 7, 8, etc. Just like you can even install them on OS 5 today because it's Flatpak. And so as long as your OS supports Flatpak, you can get all these App Center apps. Which just means we won't have that sort of a reset that we've had over the last couple releases for like OS 4 and OS 5. Yeah, so that alone, all these apps, there's over 90. I think we're rapidly approaching 100. It might have hit 100 recently. But these are all native apps developed explicitly for Elementary OS, released explicitly by their developer on App Center, following, you know, native toolkits. Most of them supporting like the dark style preference and accent colors, all of those like nice native features. So App Center is a huge part of the elementary platform, and it's really cool that, you know, all these apps are here, and then we'll never lose them again. So that's a good thing. But yeah, so then in addition to that, we've also redesigned much of App Center itself. So we added, I'm using a trackpad here. We added multi-touch swipe for these banners up here, which is really nice. So you can just, you know, kind of flick through them faster if you're on a laptop or a desktop trackpad. You can also use a mouse wheel to just click through them, just like before. And then you can also yeah, I guess that's, yeah, it's swipe. I guess, on a touchscreen. That was the other thing I was going to say. On a touchscreen, if you have a touchscreen, you can actually like swipe through them that way too. So it's just nice. That's using libhandy. So that's a big, just a nice update. And obviously it features these apps here, which is really cool. And then we also show, 15 or 12 more apps down here. That have been recently updated. So these are the most recent updates. These are the ones that are getting fresh updates all the time. So when you come and open up App Center, and you'll notice how fast it is too. Like App Center's closed, pop open App Center, boom, it's just there. So you get like a ton of apps just boom right there in front of you. And then you can scroll down and browse by categories and whatnot as well if you want. But it was important to us to have these apps up at the front and center and show that, hey, there's all these apps here. And then you'll also notice it's easy with like one click to, oh, Danny just said, I approved a couple more this morning, so we might be at 99 or 100 now. Yeah, I knew we were approaching. We're in the high 90s at least as far as apps on App Center. But yeah, you'll notice you'll also get these buttons right here. So it's a one click to install free apps, and it's a click to open the payment dialog for paid apps. And then you have all your pay what you want stuff here, pay what you can. And then, if you are paying something, you can enter your information here. Otherwise, if it's 0, it's just a free install, just like always. And then diving into the categories themselves have been redesigned as well. And I really like this change. Danny actually worked on this a few weeks ago, and she did a great job. It's, big bold typography to separate these categories up. We bubble up the paid apps to the top to show that these are kind of the more premium apps. These are ones that the developers are asking money for. And then we show paid or free apps below that. And then we also show non-curated apps. So we've always shown, this used to be a list view and it just wasn't as separated. It was just like alphabetical with non-curated apps then at the bottom. But like it's much more clear, I think, with these big giant headings, what you're looking at. And so this is, in this case, I've added FlatHub to my machine because I use like OBS, for example. And that from FlatHub, and then that installs the FlatHub remote. So then you get all these non-curated apps. So I don't know. I really like this category view. It kind of gives a better distinction between paid and free apps that are curated from App Center, and then these non-curated apps. And so I think it's been doing a really good job of like exposing all the apps that are actually in App Center. This category is actually kind of interesting. It's a bit of a grab bag of like accessories. We might be cleaning that up in a future update as well. But yeah, there's a lot of apps here. Like there's a lot in App Center now. If you haven't checked for a while, check again. I think you'll be impressed with our developer community and the work they've been doing. Let's see. Checking back to the chat over here. I just realized I don't have my chat on screen. I don't know what happened to that. Checking back over to the chat, we've got somebody's asking if they can ask something about Flatpaks and Debs. Yeah, go ahead and ask. That's great. Instead of asking if you can ask, just ask the question. You're welcome to ask questions in the chat. That's what it's for. Somebody's asking, can I have elementary OS with only Deb packages? I'm a little skeptic about Flatpaks. Can I browse Deb apps with App Center? So let's see. Yeah, Danny's kind of answered that in the chat. There's, we're moving our app platform over to Flatpak. And actually, I had a great conversation with a hardware company recently. I don't think I can talk too much about it, but a hardware company that we've been in talks with, they, one of the features they offer their customers today is that you can choose an app or choose some apps to install out of the box. So when you get your machine, it's set up and it's easier. They're coming from thinking about a more traditional Linux setup of, it's hard to know what kind of apps to install. And we had a call to talk about, well, if you do that feature, like we'd really prefer if you do it over, if you use like FlatHub apps and do them as user installations so that they're a little bit more contained than installing like a Debian package system wide. And then in talking through how Flatpak actually works and then the implications that it has on the operating system and the designs that we show in the operating system, like when you go to install a Flatpak, I kind of accidentally convinced them. They're like, oh, we'll just tell people to install apps from App Center, and then if they need other apps, they can go to FlatHub, and that's great. Which was a great side effect. I didn't really expect that to be the decision that we came to, or I didn't expect it to be that easy in talks with the hardware partners. So that was really cool. But yeah, it really is. Flatpak is designed as a technology to. It's designed from the very, very, very start with the idea of third-party apps that you don't necessarily trust. And that's the reality that we're at, right? Like Debian packages were basically designed in the old model of maintainership, distribution maintainership. So the distribution would take all these open source packages, they'd build them on their server, they'd configure the flags the right way, and then they would deploy them out into a repository as Debian packages. And so you can trust that. Like when it's coming from your distribution, you can trust that your distribution has done the work to vet that. That technology was never really intended or designed from the start to be used for third-party apps that you don't trust. So like when you install a Debian package, it gets root access to your whole computer. Like just full stop. That's just part of how Debian works. It just gets root access. So that app, if coming from a random third-party website, somebody you don't know, or some big company that you don't necessarily trust, they can configure things on your machine without you really knowing. And so that's as a third-party app platform, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So that's where Flatpak has been built for this whole sandboxed future. By default, if you just like build a Flatpak, it is completely containerized, and basically it can't see the files on your computer, it can't see your camera, it can't see any of your devices, and it has to explicitly ask for those things either at when it's packaged, and then that information can be shown in the App Store, or it has to ask at runtime with something like portals, which brings me to a next feature in Elementary OS 6.1 that we worked on. It all came around. So portals are this really cool feature. So it's a cross-desktop. Let's get down to portals here. Here's one. Portals are a cross-desktop initiative. Explicitly, it's a lot of the development is done by the Flatpak people, the same people who are working on Flatpak, which there's a lot of overlap with people working on GTK, and there's a lot of overlap with people working on GNOME, but it's not like a GNOME project or a GTK project, or it's a free desktop initiative. So it's portals are used by like KDE and Qt apps. I think portals are even used by Snap. I'm not 100% sure, but last I heard that was a thing. So a portal is it's a clearly defined way to give access to a sandboxed app to files or features of the operating system that you don't want it to have all the time. So for example, opening a file. Traditionally, apps on your desktop, if they need to open files, they just can see all your files. They can see all the files that you can see as a user, and they would draw their own widget to open the files, and that was provided by the toolkit, but the app itself was the one that it was running in process in the app, which is not great when you think about security and privacy. So there's the file chooser portal, and this portal in Elementary OS is provided by the Files app, so that we get some consistency between layout and interaction and things. Like you'll see the breadcrumbs here at the top, if you can see this, are the files breadcrumbs that we have in the Files app itself, just like in Files. So if you navigate to a folder, whatever, there is, oops, and then I'm going to accidentally click a whole bunch of things. But yeah, you see these breadcrumbs at the top. The file chooser portal is provided by Files, so it has those breadcrumbs. It has a similar, sidebar and things. Anyway, so the file chooser portal we've redesigned it in OS 6.1 and added some new features, like you can filter the type of files that it shows or that you're saving as. So like if an example is like in a photo editor, if you're saving a file and you want to only show PNGs or only show JPEGs or whatever, you can filter that and then save it as a PNG or JPEG. When you're opening a file, you can also filter what files you're seeing, so it's just easier to find the file you're looking for. And when you're opening a file, you can also check a box there at the bottom to open it as read-only. So that's really cool, so that the file can't actually write back to the file or the app can't actually write back to the file you're opening, but it can get a read-only copy of it for you to process. So that's great, again, for like photo editors where you don't want it like changing your original photo, but you want to edit it and maybe throw some text on top of it and then export it out. Read-only is a great feature there. Yeah. And then another portal that we shipped is the app chooser portal. So this is when you open up when an app wants to open up a file with another app, basically. Rather, in the past, that app would have access to it would know all the other apps you have installed, and it could just iterate through them and show their icons and names and everything. But again, privacy-wise, that's not really great. You might have apps installed that you don't want other apps to know about. So it just asks the operating system, hey, I want to open this file with an app. Please just prompt the user, and then the OS, the portal itself, shows this dialog and lets you choose a file. And then there's some smart logic there, like if you choose a certain app a certain amount of times for a certain kind of file, it will remember that in the future. Apps can also specifically say, please prompt the user if possible. So if they don't want that automatic behavior, they can just say, hey, just always ask the user what app to use. So that's more of like an export type use case. So yeah, portals are awesome. I'm getting down a little bit of a rabbit hole with portals, but they're really cool. They're really, really cool. They're a really modern feature of Flatpak and Elementary OS 6.1 now. And there are more portals that are already there that you don't even know about. Not every portal shows like a dialogue on the screen. Some portals, allow things to happen, but then inform the user it's happening. An example on Elementary OS, I believe right now, is the backgrounding portal. So that one, if an app asks to be set as like to run in the background right now, I believe we just allow it because that's traditionally what we've done. But in the future, we could ask, we could have a prompt to the user, hey, this app wants to run in the background without a user interface showing, is that something you want to allow? So portals are cool. They're really cool. I think we'll see more development there on Elementary OS and just in the free desktop world over the next several weeks, months, years to come. Yeah, so big tangent about portals and Flatpak, but hopefully that kind of answers your question about why we're excited about Flatpak and these new modern APIs. And as an operating system, we're all on board with it. The entire App Center ecosystem is built as Flatpaks, and that gives you advantages of running on other operating systems, running on previous and future versions of the OS, sandboxing, containerized, better privacy. It makes it easier for us to review apps, actually. So we're able to review apps a lot faster because we no longer have to like read Debian packaging, and developers no longer have to write Debian packaging, which is a big deal. And then we don't have to rebuild those apps for every release. And so there might be dependencies that don't exist because of the way Debian packaging works. Whereas with Flatpak, those dependencies, if they don't exist on the host system already, they will be pulled in and then reused by other apps that use them too. So it's a great system. Yeah, Flatpak's great. We're super, super happy and on board with it. And I think as users, you should either not care. Honestly, that's probably best case scenario. You just don't care, and it's just Flatpaks are just a thing. Several apps in Elementary OS are shipped as Flatpaks, and users typically don't know or care, I think. The web browser and videos now, we switched it from a Debian package over to a Flatpak without really anybody knowing or caring, except now it supports more video formats, which is cool. I think tasks and calendar, one or two of those are. I don't even know what's a Flatpak. And I work on this stuff. We have Flatpak and Debian builds of a lot of things, so it's sometimes we switch between them when we're developing. But yeah, so lots of apps are Flatpaks. As users, it should be transparent, but as distributors and developers, it's a way better process. And then as users, you will be, you'll continue to be more and more in control of access to things with Flatpaks and portals. Danny also mentioned, updates for Flatpak apps show up in App Center like you'd expect for anything else. So like if you have, like on my system here, I have non-curated apps. I probably don't have any updates because I installed updates recently. Well, let's see. Discord. So I have Discord installed. It shows here as non-curated, but it shows up in App Center, and if it had updates, it would show up here. Just like anything else, and has all your rich information. If they provide update information here, it'll show up here. So yeah, there's lots of these are non-curated actually for me testing things. So there's Flatpak apps, whether they're coming from App Center or from another source, they show up and they're treated as they're treated. If they're not curated, they're treated a little bit differently, but they're still treated as like a first-class part of the platform. We fully expect. A lot of users will sideload apps from other sources, and we try to make that as painless as possible. All right, I'm going to jump into, let's see, reading the chat again. someone had a problem creating their apps. They couldn't remove them. Yeah, I'm not sure. That sounds like maybe somebody in the chat can help answer that for you. It's a little technical. Let's see. All right, I'm going to jump back into... Yeah, I'm going to jump back into talking about OS 6.1 Mjolnir here. So yeah, in addition to improvements to App Center and those portals, which a lot of that has been driven by user feedback, especially, you know, we're always getting feedback, especially when we do something new or a new release comes out. That's when we get a flood of feedback of both users, both new and old, trying it out and giving us all that feedback. So the other things we focused on in OS 6.1 are what we call office productivity features. And this is kind of I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, I tweeted about this because I'm like, I don't really know if this is the right term. I couldn't think of another term. Thank you. Somebody just became a sponsor, became a member, I believe. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure how the YouTube interface works there. It says, welcome to sponsor. Thank you. So yeah, I like to think of them as like online accounts apps. They're things that let you get your work done as it relates to sending and receiving information from the internet on your computer, if that makes sense. So what we're talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about, oops, my keyboard is connected to the wrong computer here. Let's fix that. That's funny. So what we're talking about is both online accounts itself here in system settings, and then also the apps that use online accounts like Mail, Tasks, and Calendar, and then also the OS-wide integration of these features and apps like in the Calendar up here, and getting notifications from those apps here. So it's why it's kind of hard to describe what these features are, right? It's features that are related to online accounts and the apps and OS integration that's related to all of that. But yeah, we focused a lot on that over the last 4 months in OS 6.1. So let's take a look at some of that. Jump down here. This is the release blog post, by the way. You can view this at blog.elementary.io. And if you want to follow along and read and look at all these pictures in a higher resolution on your own machine than through a stream. So yeah, so one of the little things is just in online accounts itself, this, I guess, dialogues throughout Elementary OS. We've updated the design a little bit to make the interaction a little bit clearer. And then we've also fixed an issue in online accounts where this dialogue wasn't showing up correctly. But yeah, when you add an account, you can see it kind of dims out the background. It makes it more obvious that you need to take care of this first. And if you cancel, it comes back. It also animates in nicely kind of from the top instead of like shooting out from inside the app, which was a little weird. But yeah, that's one thing. We also fixed, I guess you can edit. I don't want to edit these because I think they might show. It should be hidden, but I don't really trust it on a live stream. But you can now edit accounts instead of just deleting and recreating. So if a port number or a IMAP URL or something changes, or you want to change the name of the account, you can go and edit it instead of having to just delete and recreate it, which is nice. So that shipped in 6.1. We also have, where are all our, did I skip them? I may have skipped them. Oh, here we go. I just hadn't gotten here yet. So yeah, so there's online accounts. And then mail. So mail's huge. I don't really trust myself to open mail on stream either because I have emails in there. Actually, no, this should be fine. It will not show it won't focus one by default. Should be fine. And if I actually click it, it's taking a second to load. I also just added like 3 email accounts with like years of backlog. So that might be, oh, there we go. Or I just didn't click. I'm not sure what just happened there. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so yeah, there's nothing in here you can't really read. I'm not going to click through emails, but you'll notice that you get nice accent colors here for unread emails, which makes them stand out a little bit better. And it follows your OS-wide accent color, which is cool. So instead of just being blue, it's whatever accent color you like. So if you like pink, you can make it pink. And we have a new auto, or a new manual, opposite of auto, a manual fetch for messages here, which is nice. So if you're just not confident that you have the latest, you can click that button. We also have filter here, so you can filter down to either hide, basically filter to only show starred conversations or only show unread. So if you use your inbox more like a task list of like, I only just want to address what's unread, or if you star a lot of stuff as your favorites in your email, and then you want to only chug through those, this is really nice. You can now filter the list down to those. So it's cool. It makes mail more of like a utility than just a consumption, if that makes sense. Because I know we've heard a lot of people use it like they use their inbox almost like a task list, and so that this helps with that sort of workflow. Again, hitting back to both office productivity and also addressing feedback. So yeah, big focus there. Let's see. There's lots of other stuff new in mail. I'm not going to get into all of it because we would be here all day. But lots and lots and lots of new stuff in mail. That's great. I'm really loving mail. And then tasks, we also fixed a few things, improved some things, added drag and drop between task lists. So if you have, here's a task. So if you have a task and then you have a new list, let's do a new one on my fast mail. Why not? Well, oh, that didn't work. I'll just do a list here. So if you want to drag a list, I just took a second. If you want to drag a task from this list, I don't actually know it. That's why we do it live. Okay, or I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do this. There we go. I just had to click it. I was clicking edit and not just dragging it. But yeah, you can drag things between lists, which is nice. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we need to fix that interaction a little bit of when it expands to edit versus when you actually are dragging, because I'm not sure how. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here. Interesting. Okay, that's why. Hey, there we go. There we go. You drag from there. We need a little grabber right there. That would be better. Okay, figuring it out live. That's why we do it live. Yeah, one of my, I don't know if it's a New Year's resolution or what, but one of my things I want to do more is using the Tasks app more. I've used Planner, which is a really awesome third-party app in App Center. And so that's where all my actual tasks are. That's why Tasks itself is empty on my machine, is because all my tasks are in Planner. So they synced with like Todoist, so I can get them on my phone. But now that Tasks is in a really good place, I want to start using it more. I know it syncs with, I believe, like Fastmail and Google Mail or Google Tasks. So I can get to it on my phone or other devices and then have it on Elementary OS. And with me, I switch between multiple computers with Elementary OS, so syncing is really important to me. So that's where this office productivity syncing sort of stuff comes in. We know that's really important for a lot of users. So yeah, lots of good stuff in Tasks. There's more here in the blog post you can read. Also fixes around like timeline or time zones, and tasks will show up. If you add a task, it'll show up. If it has a due date, it'll show up here in your calendar indicator, which is really nice. And what else? There's more. Yeah. And then in calendar, similar with like better reliability with notifications and time zones, and like Windows style time zones are apparently different than everybody else, which was weird and causing problems for people who had like Outlook synced with Windows. Yeah, all day events are better, handled a lot better. Recurring events, I know. So yeah, lots of good new stuff. Oh, also you can just middle click to get here. Hopefully there's nothing on here you can't see too. No, that's fine. You can just middle click the indicator to pop open the full calendar, as opposed to just your little mini calendar here. So that's kind of nice. And if you hover, it'll say middle click. I don't know if you can read that on the tiny text on the stream. It says middle click to open calendar. Yeah, so those are the kind of office productivity, online account syncy features that we focused in on over the last several months for OS 6.1. I'm going to check the stream chat here again, see if anybody else. Hey, there's another sponsor, it looks like. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, let's scroll up. I missed some stuff. Somebody says, keep up the good work. Thank you. Thanks for becoming a member. Oh, somebody's asking, does it have integration sync plans with Android phones? So that's actually a really good question. I touched on it a little bit, but I think that's worth like talking about a little bit more. So as of right now, there are basically there's two things you can do. There's maybe three things you can do, I guess. One, for syncing between your desktop OS and a mobile OS. One, you can control both. So that's Apple with Mac OS and iOS and iPad OS and everything, and iCloud, and they control everything. They are also like the world's most wealthy company in the history of mankind. Like they're, obviously you have to have a lot of resources to do that. You could also, another example, one of the other most wealthy companies in all history is Google with Chrome OS and Android. They control that stack. So there's really good integration there because they control all of it, and then they control the online accounts that you are syncing with. The other route you can do is you can have an app running on the mobile client. So if you're like a service provider, like Fastmail, I use in like Fastmail as my personal email. You can have a Fastmail app on the phone. You can try to integrate with the existing stuff, but they really push you to use the Fastmail app on the phone, and then you can use standards to like try to support other systems like IMAP and SMTP and all that stuff. But with like two-factor authentication and stuff, that process is becoming harder. And then the other thing you can do is just let other companies who are good at this handle the actual services side of things, and just really double down on the open standards. And that's what we've done at Elementary, at least for now, is we really are just doubling down on these open standards. Things like IMAP and SMTP are standards, CalDAV are standards. So services that support those, we will support them on the desktop. And then those are pretty well supported in mobile clients as well. You can get whatever mobile client you want on your phone. So as far as that sort of online account sync, that's the route we've taken, because we could put in a lot of effort, and we've tried putting in a lot of effort to get, say, Google to approve our OAuth integration. So you have like an actual Gmail sign-in into Elementary OS. And basically you have to do all of the work up front and then show it to Google. And then Google has to say, yes, that's acceptable. And then Google has to basically promise to never just revoke it for no good reason, which they've done in the past. So that's a lot of work. And then the end result is supporting a proprietary service anyway, and it's not all that work is just going into only supporting Google accounts. So we would love if that would, like, I think if Google approved our OAuth application that's been open for like 3 years now, we probably would support it, just because we know users want that sort of integration. But for now, what we can say is go to your Gmail account and enable the standards that we can actually support reliably, like IMAP and SMTP and CalDAV. And then if Google makes that a pain, that's kind of Google's problem. They're not playing nice with open standards and open implementations. So that's the online accounts angle. The other angle that I think people, when they're talking about this integration with mobile devices, is the like hardware integration, which I'm not going to do it live because I don't want to mess up. I have Bluetooth devices and stuff paired. But things like when you're playing music on your phone, it showing up on your desktop, or being able to control the playback of your phone through your desktop, or you pair your phone and you can actually use your big desktop speakers that you have, your sound system or whatever, connected to your computer as like basically a cast target. So you can play music from your phone and it plays through your other speakers. Let's see, what are other features? And one that a lot of people ask for is like notifications. But due to like privacy and difficulty of implementing on mobile devices, that's becoming more and more difficult. I know things like KDE Connect exist. That app has to be running on your phone all the time and listening for all your notifications that come in on your phone, and then it sends them over the network to your computer, which means you've got to install another app on your phone, and then it means that you've got to trust that app to like sit there and have access to everything. And so we could do something like that. But then there's also the fact that if you're getting mail notifications on your phone, they're going to show up on your computer too. So there's some weirdness UX wise there. So that's part of the reason we haven't like dug into that. What are other features? Clipboard sync is another one that would be awesome. And when you control the whole stack, like Apple or Google, you can do that. But when you're a third party here, it's hard to like get access to the clipboard on somebody's phone without the OS like freaking out about it, and like they're locking those APIs down for good reason, for privacy. But that means we're kind of in a tough spot for that integration. So again, we're focusing more on the more open standard access APIs that we have. So things like Bluetooth integration. Bluetooth devices support that because they pair to your car and they send track information and playback information, and then the audio itself to your car. We can support that on elementary OS, and so we do. But it gets hard, and then you can support your online account sync, but it gets hard to do like deeper integration when you don't control the whole stack. Now, without promising anything, where this gets really interesting, I think, is we are seeing these cool new Linux-based mobile platforms popping up. So you've got things like the, I don't remember what it's called, Librem 5 from Purism, and you've got the PinePhone and PinePhone Pro now. And then you've got the operating systems on there like KDE Plasma running on these phones, and Phosh with some GNOME components, and then the actual post-market OS type, the actual OSs. So I think that is an interesting route, because we could, even if we don't control the mobile operating system, I don't see us developing our own mobile operating system anytime soon, but we could do those efforts more in an open standard format, more like free desktop standards, so that any open source desktop OS could integrate with these open source mobile OSs in a really good way. And I think that's the right way to do it. It's the problem, users don't like to hear that sometimes, because that process takes a while. Free desktop can take some time to get buy-in and proof of concept, and just the whole process can take some time. So yeah, that was a whole big long tirade about that. But that's where we are with mobile device integration features, and as it relates to elementary OS. So hopefully that, I feel like I answer that one like every couple months, but I feel like it maybe is more nuanced now and then. But yeah, great question. Thank you for that one. Let's see what's going on here. Thank you for sponsoring. We've got whoops. My chat just reloaded, so I just lost my whole backlog. Okay, cool. Thanks, YouTube. Okay. Somebody's talking about file transfer between mobile device. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's one we probably could do something more standards-based. Again, the easiest way would be have like an app running on the phone, but there are open like end-to-end encrypted file transfers that do it over the local network that you could do. Yeah, or if there's, I don't know, phone apps. I know like the file manager that I use on my phone supports like SSH shares, so that's what I use. That's really nerdy. I don't know if there's a better way we could do that in a standards-based way without having to reinvent the wheel, but that would be an interesting. That's a good idea. Let's see. Somebody's asking about extensions on elementary OS like GNOME. No, not really. Elementary OS is already pretty modular as far as like the dock is its own thing, and then the panel at the top is its own process, its own application effectively. The window manager is its own process. So the way we approach like extensions or modularity is you can just run other things. But as far as like making the dock itself extensible, or the top panel extensible, that doesn't really fit in with our kind of ethos and mentality. The more extensibility you add, the more problems you end up. We've seen this in the GNOME community. The more API breaks you have to worry about, and the more friction there is, I guess. So it's easier for us to say, this is the supported feature set. I'm gonna switch. I'm not really using my desktop. I'm switching over here to this camera. It's not really the supported feature set, so we're just not gonna focus time and effort on it. Yeah, and for just full clarity, in case anybody ever wonders, we get this question a lot. Elementary OS uses a lot of underlying GNOME technologies, or a lot of the same technologies that are like free desktop standards that GNOME uses, but elementary OS does not use GNOME shell. It uses some of the same libraries, and like we use GTK as our toolkit, but we don't use GNOME shell itself. We don't use like the GNOME suite of apps, except for a few like web and font viewer and events, the PDF viewer. But by and large, elementary OS is not a GNOME desktop. So yeah, it's some people are like, they see a panel on a dock and they're like, oh, that looks kind of like GNOME. So obviously it would be just really easy to support GNOME extensions. It's like, no, they're written in a whole different language with a different architecture. That process is not running on our OS. Like the thing that is being extended by a GNOME shell extension, GNOME shell itself is not ever running on elementary OS. So it's not as trivial as some people might think. And even if it was, that's not really something I think we would want to support directly. Aaron says hi. Hi, Aaron. I hope you're enjoying your new pillow. Oh, I should have had one on hand so I could pull it up on stream. Aaron got a new pillow from elementary, and you yourself can go get pillows. There's a good. Is that a segue or what? It is a nice cushy pillow, just like this nice cushy segue. That was worse. Wow, I'm struggling to switch my inputs. Just killed the whole segue there. But yeah, so Aaron got one of Aaron got a pre-production pillow, one that we were testing out, but he got an EDW pillow, or no, he got a terminal pillow. You'll have to tell me in the chat, Aaron, which pillow you got. But you yourself can go get a Vala pillow. And it's got the Vala, Learn Vala, Do Future, nice tagline on it. And then on the flip side, it's just got, I believe, an elementary logo. And then you can get the elementary logo mark pillow, nice cushy blue pillow. And these are they're like a nice softish canvas kind of material. They're nice. And then the terminal pillow, which is one of our top sellers. I think it's our top selling pillow for the year. But yeah, terminal pillow. You want to show off your nerdiness and have people ask you why there's a $ on your pillow, which is what people ask me when I wear my terminal shirt. Yeah, and then you can tell them about Linux, and so it's a great tool. Or just want to nerd up your home, I guess. You also have these posters. I love these posters. Vala posters are looking sweet. And importantly, we have these seasonal items in the store right now. So these are hoodies and pullover shirts, and they are not long for this world. So these are seasonal. They're going away, I believe, at the end of the year, which is in like a week. That's wild. The end of the year is in a week. Next week, or in just over a week, it's going to be 2022. Nuts. But yeah, if you want to get one of these sweatshirts, get them now, because they will not be here. They are seasonal. And for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, I know, I've heard you on Twitter, I know it is not cold weather right now. And even in some parts of the Northern Hemisphere, it's not that cold weather. But I'm in Denver. We're generally based out of the U.S., so this is seasonal for us. Today it's like 50 degrees out. It's like nice, 50 Fahrenheit. So, but yeah, get these before they're gone. If you miss them, or if you're in a place with warmer weather, you can get these t-shirts all year round. And you can also get these new hats, which are looking awesome if you like beanies. We don't have like a Santa hat, unfortunately. Maybe that's something we can look into. But we do have a pom-pom beanie, which is the closest thing. And these come in lots of colors, too. So you can kind of make your own Santa-ish version. Let's see. Danny said she took a nap on her pillow yesterday and drooled all over it. It's a good pillow. Yes, I like that. But yeah, if you want your own Santa hat, you can kind of do your own. You can do a red beanie, do a little Santa cosplay. But you also have these multicolor ones, which are cool. So these are dark heather and red, gray, black, multicolor. There's a royal and heather gray one, which kind of looks cool. So yeah, lots of different colors. If you want to do pretty much any combination here, if you are Emma Marshall from System 76 and you're watching this stream, or if you're a friend of Emma, Aaron, and watching this stream, be aware there is a neon pink, which is hurting my eyes looking at my screen with it. There's also a neon green if you're more into that color of highlighter. These are very bright, very good for visibility. Yeah, lots of cool hats. And then there's multiple colors of the cuffed beanie without a pom-pom, if the pom-pom is too fun for you. And I'm punchy today. I think I'm ready for vacation. I'm a little punchy, but there we go. You can get a red beanie there if you want. Spruce, if you want to blend in with the trees. Yeah, that's, and then there's snapback hats. And then by popular demand, in addition to the snapback, let's look at those real quick. There are multiple colors here if you want to do some cool color combinations. But in addition to the snapbacks, by popular demand, we now have trucker caps as well. I don't really know the difference between those. I don't wear hats that often. That's why my head looks funny with a Santa hat on. Yeah, just a few color combinations here, but yeah, get your trucker cap. It's got the mesh on there. Yeah, we've got hats and lots of other good stuff. And year round, we also do have a few outerwear items. There's a nice, more like a rain jacket. It's like a Champion brand rain jacket. It's actually really, really nice. It repels water well. I have one. And we have a zip hoodie, Learn Vala Do Future. It's got the Vala tagline on the back, and then it has, I believe it's a little, I don't remember if it's the elementary or Vala logo on the front. We need to get multiple photos on the store. That is an open issue. But yeah, it's nice. It's a dark purple, technically navy, but I don't like navy, so I call it dark purple. And then it's got the purple accents on there. So yeah, year round. If you miss the seasonal sweatshirts, there's that one available. But you should go get one of these seasonal sweatshirts. Stay cozy this season for the end of the year, and they will be gone in a week. So hurry up. Okay, that was a good little segue there. All right, let's jump into it's. I'm like going over the hour mark intentionally here because I know we got a late start, but I'm sorry if I've held you too long. You can catch the rest of the stream later. It will be up on YouTube. And let's see. I'm gonna check the chat again. Oh yeah, Aaron got the terminal with the logo. Yeah, the terminal is our most popular design. It's a good one. Let's see. Somebody's asking some Vala questions, and Danny's answering in the chat. Thank you, Danny, for showing up and doing that. That's helpful. Somebody's asking, how can we contribute without code knowledge, like just to talk in discussions, maybe some bite-sized bugs? That is a great question, Aaron. Thank you. And that's a great segue over to what I like to usually hit on the stream, which is how you can get involved with elementary. So we get this question a lot. We do our best to kind of show people, but I know people don't always see it. So at the top of our website, you see Get Involved. This is a great place to start. If you're asking this question, you probably have already looked at this page, but it's worth taking a look again. So this does not support dark mode, so it's blinding me. Hopefully we'll get some work on a new website soon where we can support dark mode everywhere. But yeah, we've got all these different cool, colorful ways you can get involved, whether it's funding, just want to throw some money at the project, at elementary, at the company, at becoming a sponsor, becoming a patron. If you've just got PayPal and want to throw some money at PayPal, or if you want to do a recurring contribution on Libera Pay, there's also a way to do that. That's probably one of the most important ways you can help out, just because that everything costs money. Unfortunately, we live in a society where things cost money, but every time we're doing something, we're talking about what the budget for that is, whether it's people budget, paying contractors, or just sending out swag to people to help, encourage them, or hosting an online event. And then there's just costs involved in everything. So everything we do costs some money. So funding is a huge, huge way you can help support elementary and help us do what we do. But if you're less of a desktop developer and want to get started helping, translations, if you speak multiple language. I know Aaron, who was asking specifically, I don't know that he speaks multiple languages. I've never heard him speak another language. But support is another way. So we've got these question and answer resources. These link out to our Stack Exchange. There's also just on GitHub itself. If you go to our GitHub, you can find if there's a project a lot about, and you just want to help triage issues, honestly, that's a really great thing. So if you are a passionate user of the file manager of files, and you see people, sometimes people come here to ask questions more than file issues. So just triaging these can help. And if you're a regular contributor, if you're someone who we see or know, and if you show up more often, we can give you more permissions on the file trackers and triage and stuff. It's hard because it's kind of we don't want to give out permissions for things for everybody, but we are pretty open as if you come and do a few things, we can get you added to the team, and help elementary. What else? Documentation's another big one. I know Danny's been talking a lot about that lately. All of our documentation's hosted on GitHub. So if you go to the Learning the Basics guide, this is up on our website. It's kind of showing the basics of elementary OS. You can actually edit it right here on GitHub, file a pull request. If you notice a typo or just want to expand it, file a pull request there. And then all of our developer-facing documentation as well is on GitHub. So it's hosted through docs.elementary.io is the URL for it. And then there's a little button. Where's a button? There's a button somewhere. There used to be a button somewhere. Maybe they changed this. Danny, am I missing this? Let's go to a. Maybe you have to be logged in. I thought there was an edit on GitHub button. Huh. Well, that's kind of annoying. I swear there used to be an edit on GitHub button right here. Well, it's not on this site itself, but if you go to github.com/elementary/docs, that's where all of our documentation is. And then we also have links to other resources here as well. So yeah, if you noticed, if something's missing, if you're developing an app and there's just something that's missing and you want to contribute, you just open a pull request on GitHub. You'll need a GitHub account, and that's pretty much it. That's a great place to get involved. What else do we have here? So then we also have web. If you're a web developer, we have web projects. We have the website itself that we're viewing here. We also have, we should probably put another link here. We have a lot more web projects than just this now. We have, let's go to our org. We've got, let's sort by language. There's a couple of Elixir projects. If you are an Elixir developer, I know there's a kind of cool community of people out there. There's the store, the elementary store itself is open source. So we say everything we do is open source. We're serious about it. The store itself, this code, the code behind this is open source. So if you find an issue on the store, or you just want to like fix something or like do something cool on the store, that source code is available right here on GitHub. We also have the App Center dashboard. My face is also in the way. I'm gonna fix that here. We also have the App Center dashboard, which is where you submit apps to Elementary OS App Center. That code is all open source here as well. And it's actually in development right now. And we could use some help there if you are an Elixir developer. And also, it counts. This is, I know I've talked about this before. This is actually, it probably should be archived or marked differently somehow. It is it's a future, what's the word for this? It's kind of a pipe dream project that we haven't really done a lot of work on. There are also lots of, I don't know if you just tell it Ruby, it'll actually show some of these Jekyll apps. So these are App Center Web is the actual appcenter.elementary.io. That's all open source here, and you can get involved there and contribute directly to it. And then App Center for Everyone was a little mini site. Oh, that's private, so there's nothing there that you can go contribute to. What else? If we tell PHP, that's just gonna be our main website. This is archived. And view the builds front end. So builds.elementary.io. That's another one. It's all completely open source. So if you want to contribute to that, App Center Payments is the backend for actually processing payments for App Center. That is open source as well. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. You can kind of poke around here depending on what languages you are familiar with or interested in. If you are looking to get involved somewhere, that's a great place. And then just desktop development, if you're interested in that, let's bring my face back here. If you're interested in desktop development, there are ways to get involved there. So we have a getting started guide for how to actually contribute to desktop development. I would highly recommend you read this. This helps you actually write a really simple like Hello World app, but it's going to teach you a lot of things that you might just see over and over again in elementary apps. This will teach you how to do them and why to do them. This is really good. And then you also have the actual just browsing code. We have an issue reporting guide. So, oops, that moved. That link is dead. We need to move it. But yeah, back over on docs.elementary.io, we've got ways to talk about reporting issues. Reporting issues helps a lot, honestly. Sometimes people think issues are already reported and they're just not, so we just don't see them. Or if there's an issue that you have and it's already been reported, please go comment on the issue if you have new information. If you do not have new information, go give it a thumbs up reaction to let us know you're affected as well. So that's a really great way to help contribute. And then let's see, what else is there here? Oops. Back. Bite-sized issues. So this is a great way if you are like, hey, I'm not, a super confident desktop developer, but I'd like to start. These are issues that have been tagged as bite size, which we use as a way to say they should be relatively small, simple, self-contained. As far as what we can tell, they shouldn't have to require a ton of extra knowledge or a ton of extra development. And there's 40 issues here on the elementary org that are bite size. That just somebody's just got to take them on. So that's a really great place. I think Aaron, for your skill set, that'd probably be a great place for you to start too. You're competent and you are familiar with desktop development. You've done some desktop development, maybe not in Vala. Maybe take on one of these issues and see if it's simple enough for you to tackle. And then as you tackle some of these bite-sized issues, this has happened with contributors over and over again. As you tackle these bite-sized issues, you get more and more confident and more familiar, and you start to being able to take on bigger and bigger projects, which is cool. Obviously, as your time and commitment allows. But yeah, bite size is a great way. Bite size is the best way to get involved, I think, if you are interested in desktop development. But if you don't think that you're very skilled or confident about it, I would recommend doing that for sure. All right, let's see. Somebody's asking about the doc user study. Oh, that reminds me, I need to tweet about the doc user study, actually, and post on social media. So we're running it, I believe, through the end of the year. So another week, just like the sweatshirts at store.elementary.io. There's another week left on that study. So if you have not gotten given feedback about user interface type stuff in Elementary OS as it relates to things like window management and background tasks and the dock itself and launching applications, we have a user study that we launched. What is the fastest way to get to that? Dang. I think I pinned it in our Reddit. I'm going on Reddit on a stream. This is risky. No, I'm just kidding. It's our subreddit. It's a good place. Good, family friendly, fun. It may not be pinned. Shoot, it's not pinned. If somebody could drop a link to that in the chat, if it already hasn't been dropped in there, that would be great for the user study. So yeah, for a little bit of background on that without getting into the weeds, we are working on a user study, just kind of doing some research, the initial stages of, talking about multitasking and background applications and switching apps and launching apps and asking just what platforms people use and then how they use those platforms, so we get a better sense, and we can look at some trends and we can look at some assumptions we've had and see if it's backed up by the data, and then we can see if there's any new surprising things that show up in the data from, I think we have a few thousand people who have responded already, which is awesome. But yeah, that's always the process. When we did the dark style, that was the first step as well. So if that's a good indication of things to come. So, that was a huge effort to understand how people used dark styles and night light modes. And there were a few other things in that study. But our big takeaway was that dark styles were hugely important for a ton of different reasons, and it gave us the data to back it up, and it gave us the data to go to other open source projects and say, hey, we're going to work on this thing, can we work on it together via free desktop? And now, in GNOME 42, they're supporting the new dark style, and that's compatible. So this type of work is really important. It's really it's a lot of work that is usually behind the scenes that you don't see, but if you could go check out that user study, it should be here. I think it's on my history because I posted it, right? I'm just scrolling. I don't spend much time on Reddit, but it's here somewhere. 3 days ago. Oh my gosh, this is 3 days ago. Okay, I'm not gonna scroll through here. It's on the subreddit if you look for it. Somebody can drop a link in the. Oh, Danny just dropped a link. There we go. Danny dropped a link in the chat if you're reading along with the chat. And then there's a link to a form there, but the Reddit post, and then we've also tweeted it out, gives you some background on kind of the purpose of the study. I will also be sending out social media posts later today, so you can just follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/elementary, and you will get it there, or check out our subreddit, reddit.com/r/elementaryos, and you will also see it come across there. So let's see. I think that's pretty much it for the day. This has been a long, drawn-out stream. Had some hiccups at the beginning. It's been fun. I'm feeling festive. I hope you all are in a good place and festive in your own ways. And I hope you can enjoy some time over the next week or so, the end of the year. I know I'm going to be, trying to relax some. Also just having fun, playing video games, doing all that stuff that I don't do as much during the week and during my normal work weeks. So a big shout out to all of our sponsors. I know a few people joined today, became members on YouTube. You too can become a member on YouTube. That gives you some perks like some exclusive emojis in the chat, I believe. It's cool. It just helps support us too. It just supports what we do at Elementary. And also shout out to all of our sponsors on GitHub and Patreon, our patrons. We have tons of people who are just sponsored at even just for a few bucks a month. That helps a lot with that recurring income to help us tackle some of these longer term projects that don't have an immediate like money making aspect to them. Because again, everything costs money, and I hate talking about money. But by sponsoring, you help us be more sustainable and do more things, which is awesome. So thank you all of our sponsors. And talked about seasonal merch, hoodies, pullovers, and the new hats. Those are all available on the store.elementary.io. Take a look there. We talked about the OS 6.1 release. One thing I didn't get into was the hardware compatibility and integration stuff. Like I said, this blog post is an estimated 27-minute read. There's a lot of information here, but we touch on things like display scaling and how we've better grouped resolutions there based on some feedback that we got, and so that's just nice. And hardware compatibility for people whose computers are in between. If your screen is in between a nice low DPI and high DPI range, you can use text scaling now with a more freeform scaling factor there, which affects not just the text on Elementary OS, but other UI elements as well. So it's kind of our alternative to fractional scaling that works well in Elementary OS. And what else? There's sound device things. I was loving this today actually with my on my stream machine here, having inputs and outputs and levels all showing up here. If you have multiple inputs and outputs is nice, and being able to see the different devices with their icons. There's all sorts of stuff here. Keyboard stuff. There's just tons. Go read the blog post, blog.elementary.io. And if you're on Elementary OS 6 and you haven't upgraded recently, just run your updates in App Center and you will get 6.1. Otherwise, you can just go to elementary.io to get it. Or you can also, we like to give a shout out here. Where did that tab go? You can also shop for devices from Laptop with Linux, Slimbook, and Star Labs, who all are offering Elementary OS 6.1 as of the release date. So you can get yourself a nice laptop or mini desktop or laptop desktop all-in-one or laptop from one of these companies. They all ship internationally. They all have different systems, so we're a fan of all of them. They're great. And by buying a machine with Elementary OS from them, it also, first, you get a really cool machine, which is, all the incentive you need. But also, it helps support us. We get a small portion of that purchase to help sustain the operating system. So, yeah, that is everything on my checklist for the stream. Thank you so much, everybody. Anything, let's see. Danny dropped a link to the blog post. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for bearing with me with the technical stuff. And I'll do a couple more test streams, I think, before next time to get into a little bit better place and maybe crank that resolution back up. Thanks for joining. Happy holidays. Happy Festivus if you celebrate. Happy end of the year. Happy New Year, I guess. I don't have an outro planned. So I'm just going to do that. Hope you all have a good day. Thanks for joining, and I'm going to figure out how to disappear my face off this screen. Bye.